So the touch panel you have all your different areas, and you can dive into the actual area and operate the lights. Obviously, this is a bit difficult because you can't see what you're doing, but you still have control over each individual lights, and you can cycle through the next page, and that's all by area. The main difference, the main change in the program for today would be the timed events. So if you hit the timed events button, you come to this page, which is a global enable or disable of the scheduler. So you can disable all scheduled functionality by leaving it on the disabled selection. But we'll leave that enabled. And then you can browse your scheduled events by hitting the browse button. So I'm going to hit browse. And here you see your event name and then the time that it's going to trigger. So I'm going to go all the way back to the very first event by navigating with these buttons here. So this event is called Building Open. It's currently at 5:30 a.m. That's a full sweep from floors 2 through 8 of all the Crestron controlled lighting. You can see here it's going to fire on 7 days of the week. So Sunday through Saturday, and every month of the year. The important thing about the events are the active and suspended here. So this event is active. If I wanted to suspend this event, I hit suspend, and I can hit exit, and that event will forever be suspended. So this event called Building Open will never fire because it's suspended. So I'm going to leave this active. You can scroll through your events using the navigation buttons, and then when you want to edit the event, you can hit edit. So let's go to the next event. This event's called Floor 2 Off. So this is saying at 9 p.m., Floor 2 lights will turn off. And as you know, Floor 2 and the cafe they're separate. The next event is called Cafe On. So at 6 a.m. every day of the week, the cafe will turn on. Let's say we don't want that turning on Saturday because no one comes in, hypothetically. You can hit edit, then you can hit days, and then you can uncheck Saturday, and then hit exit. So you see now the Cafe On event will never fire on Saturday, but it will fire all the other days of the week.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back and put that back unless... So the next event is called Cafe Off, and right now it's set to fire at 4 p.m. Let's say we wanted that to be at 5 p.m. You hit edit, and it hit hour plus, and you see it change to 5 p.m. there. And it hit exit, and now it will fire at 5 p.m. daily. What time would you like that at for the cafe to turn off? It was set for 4 last time I was here.
Yeah, sometimes they have an event and I had to erase it. So maybe 7,
Okay.
7, 8. Yeah.
So that's 7 and p.m. and we'll hit exit. So now
We can leave. Can we leave it off Saturdays and Sundays?
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
nobody here.
So we'll go ahead and hit edit, days, uncheck Sunday, uncheck Saturday. Alright, so the cafe, actually, you know what, we want the off to trigger on Sunday and Saturday just in case someone does turn it on, but we want the on to not trigger. So we'll go back to the Cafe On event. It's going to fire on Saturday and Sunday, but I'm sorry, we'll go back, browse. These buttons are difficult. So Cafe On, I'll hit edit, days, take off the weekend. So now it won't turn on Saturday and Sunday, but it will turn off on Saturday and Sunday, just in case someone came and turned it on.
Yeah.
That off event will fire. So the next event is called Floor 3 Off, and they just go in cycle here. So Floor 3, they're all set for 9 p.m. right now. We can easily edit that. Floor 4, Floor 5, Floor 6, Floor 7 off, Floor 8 off. So let's say there's an event on Floor 7. You could come here to navigate to this scheduled event and hit suspend. And then at 9 p.m. tonight, that event will not fire. And your floor will stay on indefinitely. So that's a way to suspend that from firing at 9 p.m. So that you can you have a little bit more floor by floor control. I'm going to go back and make that active. Now there are other. So in my previous visit, the instructions were to set up sweeps every few hours to really help lower the building's energy consumption. So the next events are called sweep. So this one's called sweep off 1, and it's daily. So that happens at 2 a.m. across the board. So if there is an event and it's going to last all night long, you may want to come in here and suspend that event. If there's suspend this scheduled
For the sweep.
trigger. These are, you can edit these just as normal, but they are just global sweep offs of all the Crestron controlled lighting. So that's at 2 a.m. The next is at 4 a.m. And if these aren't necessary, we can just hit suspended, if you don't want these to fire. And then we have some weekend sweeps where this hasn't happened throughout the day, business days. They just happen on the weekends. That's to help keep lights off on the weekends. Again, this was previously instructed the last time I was here.
Yeah.
So this one fires at 8 a.m. This one is at 10 a.m. Noon, 2 p.m. And the idea was if someone is working on the weekend, they can go to their local light switch, turn the lights on, and it'll be something they'll have to deal with, because just to help keep the energy consumption down, this was the idea. Again, if it's not necessary, just hit suspended. I think that's it. So just some weekend sweeps, basically every 2 hours throughout the day.
Okay.
And that's really it. That's the only modifications we've made, was just changing the way that the scheduled events happen. So I'll hit exit. And while you're filming, we can go over this quickly. So every floor has a lighting, floors 2 through 8 have a lighting control cabinet, and they also have touch panels. It's important to note that the scheduled events that I showed you only happen on the touch panel here and the touch panel here on the 5th floor, because the schedule is actually running inside the 5th floor's processor.
Okay.
What you see here, your high voltage comes in here, and then this device here is the control processor. And these devices are CrestNet power supply. These power all the keypads and the occupancy sensors, and all the devices out here on the field wiring. And this is just a CrestNet distribution. CrestNet is their communication protocol. It's basically RS-485. So you have the wires here. You have a hot, which is plus 24 volts, a ground, and then a Y and a Z, and those are the communication bus. So, and that's standard across all the floors. And as you see, that you can parallel these things. So basically, this wire here can go into a keypad, and out of that keypad can go into another keypad, and that's how the communication happens across the floors. This device is a computer, and it runs 24/7. It's not as high tech as a laptop, obviously, but it's an old control processor. So if something is going on, or something's frozen, or something, the lights aren't turning off, you can come in and reboot these devices. You see there's a power. If you just pull this out, let it sit for 5 seconds, and put it back in, it will recycle this. It will refresh it. Obviously, if it's a continued problem and you're just please let us know if that's the case. But this has been running for, I don't know when this was installed, but
2010, I believe.
2010. Okay. So the devices are 8 years old, but these things go for a long time. We've seen much older than that. So that's really just a rundown of the control cabinet. All these cabinets are high voltage. Those are your dimmers and switches and And those units talk over the same CrestNet wire. So there's a wire going from here to there that all that communication is happening over.
All right.
So again, the important part is if you have something that's going to go on late into the night, you can come in and either set that scheduled event to happen later. Like if they're going to be here until 10, you could say, hey, turn the lights off at 11 p.m. Or if they're going to work all night, you can just disable the scheduled event from happening on that floor. And that should get you by.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Now they going to have conference room built up on the lobby.
What's that?
That's a new space they're going to build,
Mhm.
and I'm sure they probably want to
Which floor?
on the lobby.
On the second floor?
No, first floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they
Oh,
might.
behind the main entrance.
And next to it,
Okay.
you know, it used to be a bank, but now they're going to make a conference room.
Okay.
I don't know. They might want to tie into
Sure.
here.
They may. It really depends. It could be a standalone lighting system. It could tie into this if necessary.
Okay.
You know, these. There's much newer devices out. There's better control processors. There's better touch panels.
Probably better off to have it in.
Yeah, I mean these things.